Hello, everyone, and thanks for listening. So, the reason I'm doing this is because I haven't done one of these type of videos in a while, and so I'm not reading from an article and I'm not getting any input from any statistics, and I'm not getting any input from um, something that happened prior to this. I'm just basically speaking um, from experience and from what I've seen and from opinion or opinionative view. And so I want to make that clear. I believe the reason why a lot of these videos that people will make in regards, if it's negative about women, it's because they have had failure in relationships and in communicating with females. And so when they fail at those relationships on many levels, they take to podcasts, they try to write books, they try to explain away what someone else's issues are rather than looking at themselves. And so a lot of times they'll make these videos to put women down or to belittle women or to make women feel insecure about themselves, because the real insecurity comes from the people that can't communicate with females, or they have problems communicating with other individuals. And it more than likely is a personal issue within themselves. And so they blame everyone else and they put these videos out. If they're videos about women's hair, videos about women's body, or videos about what they don't like about certain ethnic groups of certain women, it's really not really telling the truth. It's just pretty much blatant disrespect and belittlement of women. And the reason why that these people are doing this is because they've had issues with finding dates or getting in relationships, or the relationships, if they get in relationships, they can't hold relationships for too long. And so they belittle women, they call them names, they downplay them, they treat them very disrespectfully, they make disrespectful videos, and that's where a lot of that comes from. It comes from a place of anger and frustration because they can't have what they can't have. They can't have a relationship with a particular woman or women that they are interested in. And so that's the reason why they make those type of videos, to hurt people's feelings because they've been hurt. And so that's where a lot of that is coming from. And so a lot of the women who make their videos because of being hurt and because of being mistreated or called names or battered or beaten up or abused, they make their videos in response to a lot of that. And sometimes the anger will come out in the videos, and you can see from the tone of voice that they have and what it is they talk about, and from some of the topics that come out a lot of times has to do with some of the personal experiences that they've dealt with in relationships in their past. So everybody has a story to tell. Everybody's had their own sets of experiences. Some people have had great experiences. However, there are others that haven't had that many great experiences, and some of it has been racial based, racialized. Sometimes they use race as a factor in it. Some people dislike themselves and they have a problem with themselves and how they look, and they don't feel confident about themselves because they've been told that multiple times. And some of this has been perpetuated on social media, all over social media, through videos with males that don't have high regard for certain females. And sometimes they pick and choose which female is better over another. Everybody has differences of opinions and different views and different things that they might be attracted to or that they like. Some people like women that are heavier. Some people like women that are thinner. Everybody doesn't like the same thing. So what one sees is maybe something they're not really attracted to. Someone else might find it attractive. So you can't just put a group of people because you don't like them in a bag or in a bowl and say, oh, these people are no good or these people are not desirable, because what you may see as undesirable, another person may see as attractive or useful or someone they want to get involved with. And a lot of times, the videos will show women who put on a lot of makeup and, all this hair and nails, and some of that is probably because they're an entertainer, or they're in videos, or they're famous. Some people don't dress like that every day. Some people are in professions where they can't wear nails and heavy makeup. They're in a profession where they can't wear all of that. Maybe they wear that on the weekends, or they wear that when they're getting ready for a venue or a special occasion, but that's not everyday attire for some women. So some women have to dress a particular way or wear certain clothes a particular way because of whatever it is that they may be engaged in through the week, in occupations. And so sometimes women can wear a lot of more makeup or a lot of more jewelry. There are some professions, however, you cannot wear a lot of makeup, a lot of jewelry, long nails, or your hair hanging all over the place, because it may require of you to not have those type of things on. That's more a style, or more the person's way of how they carry themselves and dress. Maybe when they're off work, they're tired and they're not going to go to the makeup room and put on makeup. But if you're a singer, if you're a dancer, if you're an actress, if you work in an office where you're not working in around food, you're going to wear nails and hair and makeup probably a lot more than females who work, in a occupation where they're not wearing a lot of the high heels and the nails and the makeup and what have you. And then some women are not really that excited about wearing a lot of heavy makeup and nails and a lot of jewelry and high heels all day long. And with beauty, they say comes pain. There's a lot of horror stories with wearing too much makeup or heavy nail art, and having lots of jewelry on, being draped with lots of jewelry constantly, and wearing heels every day. There's also horror stories about how women have problems with their feet, or it damages your heel cords when you're wearing heels every day. And so some people don't understand. They think that some women just want to look like that every day. It would be nice for some, but some don't feel the desire or need to have to showboat or dress up like they're going to a party every day. And so maybe they are in a job where they can't do that anyways. And so to each his own. Some people like dressing up. That's the thing that they enjoy doing the most. And so when they get their time to do it, then they do it. And it may be well and appreciated, but however that may be, everybody is not in that position where they can just look like that every day or wake up looking like that every day. And so some people will wear certain hairstyles to protect their hair from the elements or from whatever their job has them doing. Maybe they can't wear their hair hanging down every day. That doesn't mean they don't have the hair to wear. So there's a lot of different things that I noticed in videos that are not really being honest, or they're not being fair, and they're calling people names or name dropping and calling people stupid, or they're making mean comments because they have nothing better else to do but to belittle and degrade people. But if you turn around and show that these people, they have issues within their own self, they get angry with you and they want to cuss you out, or they want to make a video to put you down or put who you are down, your race, your color. Those are people you can see that's why they're angry and they're by themselves, and nobody wants to be involved with them, and they lose all of their relationships rather quickly because they don't know how to communicate to certain individuals, and they don't have it in their heart to be, how would you say, compassionate to others. All they want is what they want. And they're pretty egocentric and narcissistic. And if you don't fit in their persona, or if you don't fit in their space, or if you don't fit what they would coin to be the perfect female, then they don't want to be bothered with you because they're looking elsewhere. And then when they look elsewhere and they find what they think is what they want, they get rejected. And then when they get rejected, then they take to podcasts and they make videos about how they hate dark-skinned women, or how they hate black women, or how they hate women in general. You know, it doesn't matter what the race, they just hate women, or how this woman did this, or these women did this, and then they lump everybody in like a bowl. You know, they just put everybody in there, and it's because they're enraged and they're angry because they can't keep, they may can attract someone, but they can't keep that one and keep that woman interested. That woman finds out that they're not genuine. They don't have a sincere heart, how to treat you with respect. They're rude, they're unkind, they're uncaring, they're egocentric, and they're all about themselves. And it even shows in intimacy in those relationships. They don't care about pleasing women, they care about you pleasing them. And that's the reason why we have a lot of women who remain single or decide to date alternatively, or they don't want to have full-on relationships because they know they don't work, because they're with individuals. Once they uncover and find out that these people are all about themselves, then they cut them loose. And so we have a lot of that going on. And two, we have a lot of colorism going on, where people will place other women who are ambiguous in on pedestals. If act themselves, or they act too quote unquote black, or if they embrace their culture and they, you know, if they have a southern accent, or if they lived in a particular neighborhood and they have a certain accent, if they have a certain way of doing things, saying things, dressing a particular way from wherever they grew up or came from, and they're viewed as ghetto. Hasn't lived in those neighborhoods, doesn't really have a lot of black interested in that culture, and they have a fancy for that culture. They take on the dialect, they take on the style of dress, the style of music, and all of a sudden they get a pass, and they're looked at as popular, and they're looked at as, you know, eccentric, and they're looked at as unique. They're not looked at as ghetto, but they're actually doing the same exact thing that a woman who actually comes from that culture would normally do. If that's part of her culture, or that's part of her, you know, upbringing, but it's viewed as a negative if she's a woman of color and she's actually black. But if it's a white woman that is trying to talk or trying to adopt a culture that isn't of her own, she's viewed higher on the pedestal simply because she's portraying a caricature that isn't really of her own culture. And so that's the kind of thing that upsets people as well. And you have a lot of these guys who kind of like prop these women up. And unfortunately, we have a lot of black males that have propped some of these ambiguous women up. And so that's an unfortunate type of situation when here you have women who are actually black and who do come from situations, and they're being put down like because they're black, simply because they're black. And so you have women too that just because they're a woman, they're put down, because if they mention what kind of experiences they've had, if it's negative, if they talk about anything having to do with women's issues, it's viewed as a negative. And so on every level, women can be attacked. They can be attacked for their race. They can be attacked for their gender. They can be attacked for how they look or how they don't look. So there's all kinds of things that happen. And a lot of times you'll have certain men, it's not all, but there are certain ones who enjoy attacking women on social media. And so they'll put out the most nastiest, degrading, sexist, misogynistic, horrible, mean, unkind, unsensitive, uncouth videos that you can ever see or hear online to hurt people's feelings, to make them feel more degraded and more belittled and more put down. And so that's what's been happening. It doesn't end. It seems to get worse. And now you have it where they've even gone to promoting Black males marrying other women who aren't marrying women who are not Black, so that they can prop these women up in place of women who have always been who they are. And they come from, whether they come from the South or they come from Great Britain, being Black as a woman seems to not be fashionable for certain individuals. And so you have these women who are getting injections. They're trying to get their body augmented to look like Black women. They're trying to protrude themselves in certain areas so they can have features of Black women. Yet Black women who really look like that are belittled because of who they are and whom they are, and sexualized in a way where they're demonized. But if it's a woman that isn't that dark, or she's a mix of something else, she's propped up on the pedestal because she actually, is carrying on the persona as if she's a full-on dark-skinned sister. So that's the kind of thing that has been really rampant lately, I've noticed. The other things that I've noticed is these videos never stop coming of these males who are pissed off about the Me Too movement. And a lot of that has gone on because white women seem to lead that whole thing, it seems, though. Although you have Black women who are also involved in that movement as well. But the voices of Black women usually are silenced, or either they're belittled or bashed. And it's looking at white women's problems and how they've been harassed and how they've been oppressed by white men and by men in general, and how their needs are more important because you have to do something about it when they've been touched or they've been hurt or violated. But however, if it's someone, woman of color, it's not, we're not going to have a meeting about this. It's not important. And so that's what upsets some people when they see that or they hear that, because there have been many women that historically have been raped and they've been abused, they've been mistreated, and their voices have always been loud, but people have tuned them out because they're women of color. And so I just thought I would put this out there because a lot of communication is the reason why there's so much failure in these relationships. The relationships fail because women's voices are not heard, and certain women's voices are not heard in some instances, depending on what the situation or the nature of the issue is. And so I think that you have these males, they can call women out of their name and say all these horrible things, but that's only because they don't have these women in their corner, because these women have pretty much distanced themselves from them because of what they've experienced. The rudeness, the belittlement, the chastisement, and then placing other women in spots that don't even belong. And so this is the kind of thing that has gone on, and it continues to go on. It's run amok, and it has to end at some point. the sad part about this, you have a lot of this that has happened because you have actual black men who are on these videos on YouTube, Instagram, and all these other sites, Facebook, who have made a platform and propped up white women over black females. And so that's the reason why you have that. It's even in the music industry now, where you have white female rappers that are rapping like they're black females, and black females are put in a particular spot as if, wow, that's too ghetto. But if a white woman raps, if a white woman is propped up, if a white woman's wearing the nails and talking the talk and dancing the dance and walking the walk and has a bunch of black males around her and surrounding her, she's all of a sudden, she's the most popular thing out there in music, and she's desired, well to be desired. And so that's a lot of times what happens. It's social engineering. And a lot of times that's what you see in the videos. The young generation sees it. They get hip to it and they take hold of it. And that's what they become attracted to. And so it bashes the actual females who really are who they are and being themselves, and puts them down. And then you prop these fake women up who they don't even come to those neighborhoods. They're not even really friends with those people. They don't become friends with those people unless it's a money venture. And so this is what we've been having. A lot of that's been going on. And so that's, I believe, where the Becky-itis comes from. And to these videos of these males that superiority. There is a privilege with being white. And so that's the reason why a lot of these videos have reflected it as well. Even in the music that we hear of hip hop, we have the white women that are going into the music business and singing and dancing around as if they're black women when they never were. And so I just think that's the reason why all of this is happening. I think that's partly the reason. That's partly the reason because of the videos of the males that are very disrespectful. They don't like themselves. They don't like their black self in the mirror. And then the males that say they rather have kids that look like they're mixed, or they look like they're white, or they look like they're something other than who they really should be. If the man is black, he doesn't feel comfortable with himself, so he'd rather marry these white women, or these claim that they have a, and to get, when we say ambiguous, these women who talk black, act black, or carry on a caricature, and lived in a neighborhood around nothing but black people when they don't even have any associating friends that are happen to be black. They just learn that because now they're propped up, and now all of a sudden they're the most popular thing out there. And so when you have before black women who, if they, you know, they spoke a certain way or they acted a certain way, they were demonized, and still are today, and they were looked at as too ghetto, or she's too black, or, you know, why do you wear your nails and your hair and your makeup that way? That's too black, you know. So that's what we have going on. Plus we have these fake people on here that claim that they're pro-black, and they're not really pro-black. They're pro about taking your money out of your, stealing from the black community and the black people that are out there that are gullible to give up their hard-earned money that they work for every 2 weeks or every month. And so they are willing to give up their money to these people who claim they're going to resolve issues in the black community, when they really are creating more issues in the black community of poverty and of lies and of deceit and of anger and fear and violence and whatever else maybe. So there's a lot of communication failures on these sites as well. So it's not just even with gender, it's also straight across the board with just people. So yeah, there is a failure to communicate, not only with males and females, but with people in general. And so, having said this, I just think that it isn't going to get any better. It just seems like it gets worse. All you can do is sit back, and you have to see things for what they are and move forward. And so I would say that a lot of women, if you see these problems and you see this to be so, don't get involved with these males. If they're really about getting involved with all these other women and sleeping around and hanging out, and they're belittling you for being you, they're not worth being involved with. And if you're around people who they're not happy about you speaking out on the issues that you're speaking out on in terms of what is going on in the communities and how people are stealing money from people and making fake videos saying they're going to build things and they're going to create economic stability for Black people, and you never see any of that money going anywhere. It's just going in their pockets. They're going on trips, taking photos of trips, telling you all this stuff about these countries, but none of it benefits you. It's just telling you stuff you could look up online and read for yourself. Those are people you shouldn't trust. And so, like I'm saying, there's a lot of scam artists, a lot of people that are not only scam artists on YouTube trying to steal money from Black people and from people in general, just people that are innocent and unsuspecting. They're also people that are scam artists in these relationships, which brings me over to another issue. Some people will get in relationships, and I don't know if people realize this, but you have to watch out for these people as well. They'll get in a relationship with people who they think have a lot of money because they think that you're going to give them whatever it is. When that relationship fails, you're going to give them part of your earnings or what you've saved in retirement. Also, you got to watch people who will try to kill you or set you up. Insurance on your life, like an insurance policy. And so you're worth more dead than you are living. And so this is something that is going on. I know this to be true because this happened personally to someone of whom I know that I was related to that passed away. I suspect that the wife had something to do with his death. And there was an insurance policy, and he was worth more dead than living. He was murdered viciously and gunned down. Viciously gunned down. And how we know that this seemed rather funny is the person talked about getting married again. The person wasn't even buried yet. Good. Wasn't even a week that they'd been buried, and the person was talking about the one that they were involved with in a prior relationship, in a marriage that was failing. She claimed that she was going to get married again, and that she, had found another man and all this stuff. And what we noticed is when the insurance money showed up, they didn't even want to pay for the person's headstone. Well, I had to tell someone, don't pay for the headstone. They've got the money to pay for the headstone because they're lying to you. They want to see if you're going to pay for it so they don't have to pay for it. And sure enough, the family member, his mother, had listened to me, and weeks later, that person came through with the money all of a sudden. They made a story that they didn't have the money to pay for the headstone. So it's a murder mystery as to why this person was gunned down and shot in the back savagely. We believe that maybe that this person had put up an insurance policy knew that they would be worth more dead than living and had them killed. And so it's hard to prove it, but they hadn't found who was involved. And there were two people who were questioned and held for several weeks and a couple of months, and they had to let them go because they didn't have enough evidence. But we feel from the way this person's behavior was, is that they had something to do with the murder of this individual. This happened a couple of years ago. Because they started to buy things, they started saying they were going to travel to the UK with the insurance money after they had been murdered. And we felt like the person didn't grieve and didn't act like they were remorseful or they were saddened by the death of this individual. It seemed as though that it was party time. Let's go spend the money. And so that's why we're not very comforted by that. And so I wanted to mention to you young people that you have to be careful of these relationships. Getting married is serious business. Some people will marry people if they think you have money, and then you'll get killed, or that you'll be wondering why people are following you, why this person's acting funny, why you're falling, why you drank something and you feel sleepy or you're sick. Because there are people out there who are very vicious, and very vicious, so much so that they could be plotting your death so they can get insurance money. So it's not only communication failure, but the relationships fail when you're not educated about what these relationships really involve. Because when you get in a relationship, you're not only in a relationship with just that other person, you're in a relationship with their family, who will become your in-laws. You're in a relationship if they have kids. You're in a relationship with them if they have a mental illness, or if they're sick, or they have pre-existing injuries, or something's wrong with them. You're also in a relationship with a person if they are out to kill you. And you have to be proactive and find out who that person is that you're involved with. Or if they're out just for your money, they marry you because they know you have a lot invested in your career and a lot of money. And if they divorce you, they're wealthier divorced from you than when they're with you. So I don't think people really understand the ramifications of what relationship involves. So there's a failure all the way around. When you end up with children, you don't know what the children are going to be, if they're going to be healthy or if they're going to be sick, if they're going to be a problem, if you're going to want to stay in that relationship, if you're going to break up, if you're going to have joint custody of the kids, if the kids are going to go with the father or the mother. You don't know what's going to happen in these. If the man is sick with some cancer and he's going to die, if the woman is sick with something and she's going to die, or if somebody's plotting to do something to you because they want your money. You're more to them economically more valuable dead than living. And there are people out there that are predatory that do this. And so I don't think people realize what happens in these relationships. They just get married and then they realize this is real. I'm not going to be able to do the same things I did when I was single. I'm not going to be able to get out of this because I'm involved with someone. Your life changes when you're in relationships. It changes a lot, believe it or not. Whatever their credit is and your credit is, if you have good credit and they have bad credit, that can impact you as well. Whatever their legal problems are, whatever your legal problems, if you don't have any legal problems, now they've got legal problems, that could be also your problem now. So people don't think about none of that. They just get involved with these people thinking that it's going to be a happy relationship. If they have an anger problem, now you have to deal with it. So with that being said, I'm going to let this go. But there's a lot of failure to communicate. That is the reason why a lot of these relationships don't work out, and people don't do their homework about these people. They just blindly get involved with them thinking that this is going to work. And that's why there's divorce rates right now that are so high, you wouldn't believe it. So there's a lot more to a relationship than just shacking up and getting involved with people. And then you have to add in there, if that person's promiscuous and they haven't told you their sexual history, you will eventually be revealed that history, whether you like it or not. And it can come in the form of some woman coming to your house and knocking on your door saying she's been married to that person before you married him. Or it could be a child that comes to your door and you don't know whose child it is and it's from a previous relationship that this person has had. Or you could end up like some women I know who actually contracted HIV and they never had sex with anybody but their husband. And he had it and didn't tell him he had it. And they got it. So it's up to you, ladies, males too. And you get in these relationships, you don't know if the person has a hit out on your life because you're worth more dead than you are alive. And you don't know the histories behind these individuals and also their family. What kind of family do they have? You know, you have stories where people get married and they get involved with people and they end up sleeping with the sister or the brother. So there's a lot that people don't consider. It's called communication failure and relationship failure. And people don't understand where a lot of that comes from. But I just pointed a couple of things out. There could be a lot more, even with money and finances. People find out the person lied about who they were, lied about their occupation. Maybe they don't have any money. And now you married them. And now you're the one with the money and you got to take care of this problem. With that being said, thanks for listening. Be smart about who you get involved with. Be smart about who's sending the messages.